The school had been abandoned for years. No one in town liked to talk about it. No one went near it. Not after what happened. But as the years slipped by, time dulled the sharpest terror. Stories turned into rumors and rumors into jokes, yet the building remained, hollow, brooding in the shadows, something forgotten, but never truly gone. At night, when the streets were empty and the world was quiet, the school lingered by the edge of everyone's thoughts. The red, rusted iron gate stood firmly, one side hanging from its hinges, groaning whenever the wind pushed it. Behind the gate, the building loomed, silent and watchful, its shattered windows gaping like black, unblinking eyes staring into the night. It had no lights. No guards. No sound but the restless wind. People avoided the place, especially at dusk, as if the shadows there could reach out and drag them inside. One night, a group of 5 friends decided to break in and explore the school, curious about the various tales they had heard and refused to believe in. They met a few meters away from the school and together walked towards it. The road leading there was almost invisible, swallowed by the overgrown trees into darkness. The cracked pavement was barely seen beneath tangled grass and weeds. The half-open, rusted gate moved slightly whenever the wind drifted by, as if beckoning them closer with every push. As they neared the gate, it made a soft creak, echoing into the night, like a warning or an invitation. The sound repeated, again and again, as if luring them with its demonic seduction. They stared, intrigued, adrenaline rushing with thumping excitement. They slipped inside, bewitched. Dry leaves crunching beneath their shoes. They stared at the shattered windows, vines that had crawled up the cracked walls, and trees standing beside and near, blending into the walls as part of the school. It felt unsettling, yet oddly thrilling. They walked further through the playground, which was overgrown and twisted just like the pavement, and was silent except for the metallic swings that were moving slightly, though the air was still. The front door was open, luring them further in. They stared longer at the open door, phased, trying to get a look at anything past the darkness. Someone joked that the place looked like something straight out of a horror movie. Another whispered that maybe they should just leave. But none turned back. Their phone flashlights cut thin beams through the darkness as they stepped inside. The hallway greeted them with a stench of mold, wet dust, and something older, like paper that had been rotting for years. Their every step echoed in the empty hallway with dust drifting in the air. As they walked, they came across the empty lockers lined up on the walls with their doors slightly open like mouths frozen mid-whisper. Someone muttered about the unbearable stench, to which others laughed and brushed it off as an old building. They shivered as the cold intensified with every step they took. The cold felt unnatural. It wasn't night cold. It was the kind that felt alive, crawling beneath their skin and settling deep inside the bones. None of them felt comfortable there, yet none voiced it out. Beams of flashlights moved across peeling walls, down to the empty classrooms. They pressed on. The hallway stretched ahead, like a tunnel with no end. They moved deeper into the hallway, walked past broken lockers and faded classroom signs. Their footsteps sounded wrong. Like someone else was also walking just behind, overlapping with them. One of them stopped suddenly. "Did you hear that?" They all paused. Silence. Nothing. Just the faint sound of wind pushing through the broken windows somewhere far away. As they moved deeper, the tension thickened. None of them said it out loud, but all felt the same thing: the building was aware of them. They wandered through the corridors and classrooms, laughing nervously, recording videos, whispering jokes to keep the silence at bay. Then one pushed open a door with a sign that read, "Restricted." Unlike others, its sign stood intact and untouched. The hinges shrieked as the door swung open under the weight of the person's palm. Inside, old desks with splintered wood were scattered everywhere, some overturned, some broken. Cobwebs stretched between them like veins. A broken chair leaned against the front wall. A spider wandering across a pile of old, decaying papers. Dust blanketed almost everything, similar to other classes. The chalkboard loomed at the front. One of them swept a flashlight beam across it. And on it, written in uneven chalk, were 3 words. "Don't turn around." They stared. A hush fell over the group. For a moment, no one spoke. A strange feeling settled over the room, heavy and cold. Someone laughed. The laugh was too loud. Too forced. "Someone wrote that to scare people," they said. Others agreed quickly. But something about the message felt recent. They stepped further in. The floor groaned beneath them. They squinted at the board through the darkness. The chalk looked fresh. Not dusty. Too fresh, as if it was written just a while ago, with its particles still lingering, untouched. Then something strange happened. A faint sound came from behind them. They froze. The sound was unmistakable. Something had moved behind them. It sounded like wood dragging across the floor painfully slowly. "Did you hear that?" someone whispered. But no one answered. They slowly turned with their lights trembling in their hands, to the back of the room. Nothing. Everything looked exactly the same. They continued, presuming it to be the wind. But the air was dead still. Then the sound repeated. Again. Longer this time. And closer. Someone gasped. "Maybe we should leave." Others insisted it was silly to get scared over a chalkboard message. They looked at the message on the board again. "Don't turn around." The words suddenly felt less like a joke and more like a warning. Silence filled the room again, suffocating and anticipating. The one from before swallowed nervously. "If it says don't turn around, maybe we shouldn't." Their breathing became louder in the stillness of the room. Others tried to laugh it off, but the sound died down. The scraping sound returned. Closer than before and longer. The quivering of the lights increased. The air thickened, pressing on their lungs. A thought entered their minds. "Something moved behind us." One of them whispered, "Maybe we shouldn't turn around." But curiosity is stronger and cuts deeper than fear. One of the friends, who kept on reassuring till now, slowly, very slowly and reluctantly, turned around. The scream that followed was inhuman, a raw, terrified sound. Others spun around. The classroom was no longer the same. Every desk in the room had been moved. Every single one of them. All the desks that had been scattered across the room were now perfectly aligned in rows, facing the chalkboard, like students waiting for class to begin. No one spoke. No one even dared to breathe. The room was dead silent. Then a cold realization gripped them. They are standing at the front of the classroom, where the teacher's desk should be. They felt uncomfortable, as if someone was staring at them. Then, they noticed another door at the front that they had failed to acknowledge earlier, which was closed shut, a few feet away from the chalkboard. Fear started to crawl inside them. They scurried towards the back door, quietly. Just when they were a few feet away from the door, another sound echoed through the empty classroom, halting them dead in their tracks. Footsteps. Slow and heavy footsteps. Coming from the hallway. Approaching the classroom's closed front door and stopping just right outside. No one dared to move. Someone near the back whispered, don't open it. Please don't open it. The classroom lights flickered once and died down, though there was no electricity. The door groaned but did not open, as if giving a warning or announcement of someone's presence. Then, impossibly, the chalk lifted itself off the ledge. No hand. No person. And it began to write. Just chalk dragging, slowly across the board. The scraping sound filled the room. Slow and painful. And a new sentence emerged beneath the first. You were told not to turn around. They panicked and lunged for the back door. The door slammed shut before they could reach it, the sound echoing through the hallway. A desk suddenly slid backward. The sound of wood scraping was clear and loud in the room. Then another, and another. One by one. Until there were exactly enough empty desks for them at the back of the class. Their chests tightened like the air had become too thick to breathe. Breathless, they stared at the moving chalk. Class has begun. Take your seats. The temperature in the room plummeted further. The door opened, and the air in the room felt heavier, as if something had entered. In the corner at the front, something moved. One of them turned their light toward the front of the room, hoping it was just an illusion. The beam revealed something that hadn't been there before. A shape. Not a person. But a tall, thin figure, too long for a human and too dark for a shadow, was standing by the teacher's desk that hadn't been there moments before. It was tall. Too tall. Its arms hung unnaturally long at its sides. Its face was filled with nothing but darkness. No distinct features. Absolutely nothing. It slowly raised one arm and pointed at the empty desks behind them in the last rows. One friend began to sob quietly. Another trembled so hard that their flashlight clattered to the floor. Yet none moved. A desk creaked, as if someone invisible had just sat down. More and more desks began making the sound of taking seats. But the chairs were empty. One friend trembled uncontrollably. We need to go, someone whispered. Trapped, desperate, they tried for the door again. But the door wouldn't budge. The chalk began writing again. Attendance. The tall figure tilted its head, then spoke in a dry, rasping voice, like stone scraping a metal, which sounded unbearable. It began calling names. Names none of them recognized. Names of students who disappeared from the school years ago. Each name echoed strangely. Each time a name was called, a desk somewhere in the room creaked. And the list went on, and on. And desk after desk creaked until the figure stopped. Slowly, it lifted its faceless void and turned towards the group. The friend started to tremble, with the one at the back trying silently for the door. Then the chalk wrote another sentence. New students. The figure pointed at the empty desks again. And this time, the chairs slowly slid backward. Waiting. They felt more than one cold stare. The temperature in the room reached the freezing point. None of them resisted anymore. Fear had crushed every thought in their heads. Slowly, shaking, one by one, they sat down under the cold stare of the figure and others. The chalk wrote the final words. Last 5 names. One by one, the figure had called out their names. And as each name was spoken, the desk creaked beneath them as if accepting its new occupant. When the last name was completed, the figure nodded and said in a dry whisper, "Good. Now the class is full again." Their phones died, all at once. The room went dark. And the classroom door never opened again. Outside, the night remained quiet. Sometimes, late at night, people passing the abandoned school would hear strange sounds through the broken windows, the scraping of chairs, the scratching of chalk, and the sound of a teacher's voice calling the roll. But if anyone dares to peep through the window, they see only empty desks, except for the last 5 rows, which always look just slightly pulled back, as if someone is still sitting there. Those desks always look occupied. And on the chalkboard, written in fresh white chalk, are the same 3 words. Don't turn around.